Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. Today we have Bedknobs and Broomsticks. This is a classic from Disney, of course, 1971. It's an hour and 57 minutes long. It stars Angela Lansbury, Murder, She Wrote, David Tomlinson, which you'll know as Mr. Banks from uh, Mary Poppins. There's a little Roddy McDowell also appears in this in a very small role, like in two scenes, and I don't even know if he has much of any dialogue at all, which seems like a waste of Roddy McDowell. But hey, what are you gonna do? Anyway, he this is a story of set in World War II era. The Nazis are moving in on England, and at the same time, this is a story of an apprentice witch who is forced to take in orphans or kids who have been displaced due to bombing in London. So we get three young kids. What is it? Paul and Carrie and come on. Charlie's the oldest. Carrie is the girl, of course, the middle, and Paul is the youngest boy in the group. And they're basically after they've been bombed out and they're given to a custody. Somebody gets them. They're given custody of these children, of many children who've been displaced, and Angela Lansbury's character, Miss Price, ends up taking them in. She's not much for kids or anything. She's kind of the anti Mary Poppins. She's more interested in secretly dealing with her apprentice witch studies, and she got a cat in the mail, and when we first meet her, she gets a broom in the mail, and she is going through her studies. The problem is, not everything's working out the way she wants. Turns out that she's adept at these things, but just not as adept as you would think a witch would be. I kind of wonder if I realize they're totally different universes, totally different studios, so it would never be a proper crossover. But if I ever imagined if they did a Harry Potter universe, a Wizarding World universe where they moved beyond the Fantastic Beasts era of like World War One, post World War One, I think that's when it was, and move into World War Two era, you might see Miss Price flying in the skies on her broom, battling Nazis along with other witches. Never know. Either way, that would be kind of neat, at least to throw a little reference into it if they ever did that kind of thing. Not that they will. Anyway, so yeah, you see, there's like cartoon animals in this. Yeah, that somehow comes into play as well. This is obviously the use of David Tomlinson. This is meant to be sort of a Mary Poppins-ish kind of adventure. Mary Poppins herself is kind of, is she a witch? Does she fit in with this? I don't know, this realm of otherworldly women that seem to impose themselves on rich in Mary Poppins and poor in Bedknobs and Broomsticks alike. Who knows? Uh, but there's honestly, I could have swore I'd seen this movie when I was a kid, and maybe I did, but all memory of just about everything was erased. When I saw there was cartoon animals in it, I was like, yeah, that's probably why I watched it when I was very, very little. And now you go, oh, Angela Lansbury, yeah, she's in it. But I still had no idea as I was watching this. It was as if I was watching it for the first time, so I had to treat it as I check off the ones that are brand new to me when I watch anything on Disney Plus, and this now has to be checked off as such because, again, it's as if I never watched it because I had no idea where this was going to go throughout the entire film. So anyway, she feels like she's getting screwed over on certain. She's supposed to get the last lesson from this prodigious magician in London. So she, I don't know, magically enhances this bed knob. It goes at in the frame of the bed and makes it so that the bed can fly anywhere and travel anywhere you want to. You just turn it a certain way and say where you want to go, and boom. So that's some pretty powerful magic right there. You can travel anywhere on a bed. So anyway, they travel to London and they meet this magician, and he's, well, I'm not going to ruin too much for you, but honestly, the movie's 50. The movie's 50 years old this year. It's 50 years old. If there's a chance you haven't seen it, but as you can suspect, the man who's been giving her all this magical stuff isn't exactly what he seems. And it's David Tomlinson, and even turns out that even he doesn't really understand or believe in any of the things that he's been sending her. He just liked her money, so it was a scam the whole time. But the thing is, she's magical. How is she making this stuff work? She's turning people into bunnies. So that's part of the mystery of what this is, what's going on in her life. And I don't know if they've really ever fully explained how she's has an affinity for this kind of thing. But either way, it's they get to fly around in a bed with children, and they go to a. They're trying to find the rest of the book that can create this final big spell, powerful spell. And they run across all sorts of trouble in trying to get this other half of the book. But what they really need is this magic phrase that in order to really make things happen. Anyway, that takes them to the land where all these animated talking animals live, and there's a king, a lion king. There's a lion king in this, and it turns into, for some reason, there's a really long sequence of animals and Emilius, come on, Emilius is his name. This is David Tomlinson. He gets caught in the middle of a soccer game. Of course, they had to call it soccer for at least American audiences. All other references in this it's football. It's an early Space Jam prototype, I think. This is Space Jam 20 years before Space Jam ever showed up, at least 20 years, showed up on movie theater screens. But he's caught in the middle of animals playing soccer, and it goes on for a really long time. I don't. It's their chance to do the whole mixed live action and animation thing like they did in Mary Poppins so well, and but this one is very heavy on the animation once it starts going, and they just sort of throw David Tomlinson into certain scenes where he's going whoa, and he's falling over and getting knocked over by rhinos and hyenas and lions and everything else. So, but it's a trial in which they have to accomplish in order to achieve the goal, get the MacGuffin they're looking for. Anyway, this feels like a number of different movies in one, because by the third act, they're back home, they're kind of settled in. He thinks he's gonna take off. Kids want him around, and she's also kind of gotten used to the kids, like she's gonna keep them around. Maybe they'll make a family, but it seems all sort of forced together. They've only known each other maybe a few hours, maybe a few days at most, and like, are you going to be our mom and dad now? It just seems kind of weird. But before anything can get resolved, Nazis invade. So yes, there is Nazi action, not just in the opening credits sequence where it's all sorts of artwork showing Nazis invading a castle, which it all references what happens in the final part of the story. In fact, the entire opening sequence, I think, with the credits, shows almost everything that happens in the film in a somewhat vague way, a symbolic way. But yeah, when you start seeing the swastika early on in the film, it's still kind of odd, but makes sense because you think that the story is over, and then suddenly Nazis show up, and she gets to use her wizardry, her witchiness, to fight the Nazis, and in a way that is very cartoonish. There's no cartoons in this point, but there's lots of physical effects with stuff on wires and strings that you can't see. There's no CGI. There's no green screen in this. So it shows you a little bit of how the practical work is done in this era, in the early 70s, before you get to George Lucas in '77 with Star Wars. It's a good fun movie. It seems to go on a little long for me, and it's a little slow paced at times. Uh, it seemed like they were trying to drag out the story in order to make it a film. I don't know, but I mean, it could have cut 30 minutes out of this and still would have been a film. But I don't know. The cat. Oh, I just saw the cat here. The cat seems to also. It it's good enough. It's a good enough animatic cat that I thought it was real, and sometimes it probably was real. I don't know. It blurs the line. There's times when you realize it's probably a puppet, but it's also not. Maybe it was completely a real cat the entire time. I have no idea. Or completely an animatic cat the entire time. No idea. So that's the magic of Bedknobs and Broomsticks. It's the cat that just sort of shows up occasionally in scenes. So yeah, yeah. It's an underappreciated classic. It's sort of a cult classic as compared to the bigger Mary Poppins and everything else. And it has music and dancing. There's a big dance number that takes place in the marketplace where they're going to look for the rest of the book that she needs to get in order to finish the spell. So yeah, there's dancers and military men dancing from all sorts of different cultures because hey, the war is coming to London, or already is there. But there's a humongous dance sequence, lots of singing and stuff here and there. It doesn't capture the same magic as Mary Poppins. I'm sorry, I keep comparing this to Mary Poppins. It's the David Tomlinson connection, and also the fact that it's live action and animation for a small portion of the film that went too long. It's the way it's going to be. But yeah, it's fun. I don't know if kids these days might be as enraptured by it as it was 50 years ago. But, maybe if you were around back then, it might be time to revisit that era of filmmaking and see if it holds up for you. I don't know. Like I said, I thought I was going to be comparing it to what my thoughts were back then. It turns out that it's completely not the movie I remember it to be. So, or maybe I just remember. Maybe they just showed portions of Bedknobs and Broomsticks, like on the Disney Sunday Night Disney show back in the day. I don't know. I'm old. So, anyway, let's pick tomorrow's episode. Bedknobs and Broomsticks. If you remember it, watch it again, just to figure out if you saw the right movie. Otherwise, I don't know if kids at all will appreciate it. So that's my final answer. Let's pick tomorrow's episode.
297.
Whoa, still have it connected to my Bluetooth speaker. 297. Thanks from behind me. I should disconnect that. 297. Oh, okay. I gotta make sure again that was 297. Yes, 297. This is a documentary, probably a one-shot. Maybe if it's a series, I'll be surprised. But it is Life on the Edge, Penguins Behind the Scenes. It assumes that there was some scenes in the front. I don't know. Life on the Edge, Penguins Behind the Scenes is what we're watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. And I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.